writer reached out to the NFL Network about this story that I guess either Joe or his lovely wife Michelle told the reporter that I played matchmaker for the two.
Yeah, I've heard you tell that story.
So interestingly enough, for the feature story on Joe Buck and the Ringer, if you just take the title, the headline away, the first television host and announcer that's mentioned in the piece is me. A little bit awkward. Is Joe Buck on the phone line right now?
Joe Buck is on the line.
Joe, is it awkward for you too? Was it awkward for you too?
God, are you a flippin' narcissist or what?
Well, you can't spell Rich and Eisen without two I's, Joe.
No, evidently. I didn't know how to spell Eisen. Now I do. It was... Well, It's all true. I mean,
it is true.
I completely stalked my now wife and was either going to get a restraining order or married. And fortunately for me, I got married.
And that story at the top was accurate. Was accurate that you wanted to know what Michelle's deal was, essentially, just like two guys that normally talk about hooking a friend up. Possibly.
Yeah. The funny thing was we'd been in a bunch of different settings where we were both there and completely unaware of one another. And then I saw her and I, began my panting and reached out to you because you're the king of, you told me you're the king of NFL Network. And
that was in confidence, though, Joe. That was in confidence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is taped, right? You can take that out.
No, this thing is, we got it. We're good.
Okay. And then I said, what's her deal? And he said, well, I'll check. And then she basically said, he's smug and gross and arrogant, and I don't want anything to do with him. Tell him I'm flattered, but buzz off. And I wasn't to be denied.
Well, the one thing that was also accurate about this is I said it was an A-list voice in our industry. And she did run through many names,
including dead people
who are not you. You know what I mean? And
so obviously I wasn't A-list to her.
That was a little bit awkward for me, and then it finally came down to you, and there you have it. And now the rest is, in fact, history.
She's sitting right here. She's like, I had a boyfriend. That was the issue. I had a boyfriend. So now we're in a fight. Thanks a lot, Rich. I'm glad I came on.
There you go. Well, look, Joseph, you are the man, and that's part of the reason why I have you on here, because I love you. And this is a feature that should have been written many, many years ago about who you are and what you do for a living and how you go about yourself. And I'm more than pleased to see something like that. And I'm wondering how this feature sits with you now that it's out.
No, it's good. I'm glad I did it. You never know when you kind of open up. The sad fact of it is I've written a book. It's coming out in November, and a lot of what's covered in the book, albeit through my eyes and in my voice, is covered in this piece. Now, there's obviously a ton more and some revealing stuff that nobody, even you, the king of NFL Network, don't know about me. But I started reading, and I'm like, well, I hope they buy the book. But beyond that, you trust somebody to tell your story, and I get picked apart as it is. So I'm hoping that it gets done the right way, and I think it was. I think it was fair. It points out the good, the bad, the indifferent, and I read it this morning when I woke up and was pleased. So, I guess that's not why he did it, to please me, but it turned out, I think, a pretty good representation of who I am.
I got Joe Buck here on the Rich Eisen Show. And what are you up to these days? Are you getting ready for what right now?
Well, I've got baseball this weekend, St. Louis against San Francisco, and then I'm U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is 2 weeks away, so spent a lot of time at Oakmont, a lot of time researching, and just did a 4-ball event with my new partner, Paul Azinger, who I enjoyed immensely, and can't wait to do the U.S. Open. It's going to be a blast, I think.
So what does your golf game look like, Joseph? What's the Joe Buck?
It's been better. It's been better in my lifetime, but it's trending upward, so that's good. I played Oakmont last week, whatever day this is, in the middle of last week, and actually fared pretty well, and birdied 18 from the tips from where they'll tee off on the 16th, and that was a nice way to walk away. So
life is all good for you. Life is all good for you. I'm on the phone with Joe Buck here on the Rich Eisen Show. We're in Houston, where you will be calling the game later on this February, correct? Yet another Super Bowl for you, Joseph?
Hard to believe, yeah.
You'll be here. What are your thoughts going into the season right now as we're sitting here in early June and, Deflategate is hitting day 500 today, which it is.
Oh, my God. When does the world get a break from Deflategate?
I don't think it's coming any day soon, unfortunately.
Even the most ardent anti-Patriots fan is like, enough. Just move on. Let's go. And I'm sure there are people within the league who think, do we have to go through this mess again? I mean, it was kind of put to bed and under the pavement. Nobody cared anymore, and now it's back, and Brady's staring at a suspension, and back into court they go. So it's frustrating and annoying, I think, for the average football fan. And I think going into the season, coming off the draft, it's going to be fun to see how a lot of these quarterback situations play out, and who I think you guys were just talking about Brock Osweiler and.
Yep.
How good is he when it's his gig? And, I think the one thing they get when they signed him to that deal was they get a little piece of Peyton Manning with him because he's studied at the foot of the practice master in Peyton Manning. So I come down on the side of I think he's going to be good. I don't know if he's going to be great, but I think it's going to be a positive for Houston. And, the Philadelphia situation is fascinating to me, that Bradford's in a position to complain and want to get out, and now he's back in, but Wentz knows the offense better. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts there. So I don't know. I can go any way you want to talk, but it's almost overwhelming at this part of the year.
What is that? I mean, there's 32 teams, 32 storylines. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, there's only two that are going to end up playing here in Houston for you and Aikman to call it in February, and I've got Joe Buck here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I let you go, Cubs make the World Series based on what you're seeing right now? I know there's a lot between now and then, but a lot of Cubs fans get a little nervous when things look so good. And you coming from the St. Louis perspective from all those years know the Cubs angst perhaps more than anybody else.
Yeah, no, they are by far the best team. I mean, it all came together, and we thought last year was a year ahead of their own schedule, but Joe Madden came free. John Lester was out there, so they made those deals, and then I think they finally had it all come together, the development and the free agency. I love adding Lackey. I love what they did with Hayward, and they can afford a contract that I think at the end of it will be a bad contract for the team. Although Hayward does have an opt-out. I think that team is so deep that they can absorb the injuries they've already had as long as Arrieta stays healthy. I mean, they need to cryogenically freeze him until October and then roll him out and take their chances. But, yeah, they're the best team in baseball, hands down.
All right, Joe. Thanks for calling in, man. I'm glad, I told that story at your wedding, too. About the whole.
You're the only one that gave a toast at our wedding, and I think it's fitting because without you, there is no us.
Well, I'm one of those guys when I'm at a wedding and there's no toast. I think about it, and then Susie, always, hits me in the ribs with an elbow and says, "Get up there." She puts me on the stage for those types
Well,
of
you're
moments.
making it sound like it was a boring wedding. I don't know that it was that. I mean,
you
actually interrupted the band. They were in the middle of a song. You're like, wait, whoa, I got a story.
It was definitely not
the story for all you people out there.
No, actually, let's be honest. It was the needle ripping off the record when that
right,
happened.
Yeah. We had so many records.
It was the Macarena, and I'm like, we can't have this. Let me get up
right.
there. But years ago, if you remember, Susie reached out to you when it was my birthday, and I was at your golf tournament, your charity golf tournament, and Susie and I were living, a long-distance relationship, just boyfriend and girlfriend. And
right. But you were living in sin for part of that time.
You set me up to get me out of that sin, Joe. So thank you.
I know.
It was right back at you, this whole thing. Okay?
Well, I feel like we're in sleeping bags talking around a campfire.
Joseph, thanks for calling in. And that feature was awesome. Well deserved.
Yeah, it turned out good. Thanks, Richie.
Take care, Joe.
All right. See ya.
That's Joe Buck.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.